Arel is a young boy who lives in a fantasy world where everyone has a blessing in the form of a class given to them by their goddess. This class decides what they are going to become when they grow up, and it is revealed to them when they turn 10 years old. Today is Arel's big day since he just turned 10 and is going to be assigned a new class. His parents and his sister are excited at the prospect, fantasizing what kind of cool class will Arel get, but he himself looks uninterested in this entire system. After having breakfast, they all quickly move towards the church where a priest stands near an altar, touching underage boys, which is a universal thing in every world, I guess. He starts telling each kid what is going to be their class, as some become blacksmiths and some become chefs. Arel's sister tells him that classes are also influenced by what your parents' classes are, so he is probably going to get something really cool. When Arel's number comes, he walks up to the priest, while everyone starts mumbling excitedly amongst themselves about what kind of legendary class will this kid get, since his mother is a sword saint and his father is an archmage. The priest himself is excited at the opportunity to touch another boy, but when he presses Arel's forehead, it confuses him, since nothing happens. He finally looks down at Arel in pity and tells him that he was born without a class. A couple days pass by, and Arel's parents try to raise his spirits by telling him that he doesn't need to worry about getting a job, and he can always live in their basement forever. But Arel isn't really worried about himself. He tells his family that he is not depressed, claiming that he has been practicing the art of swordsmanship since he was a child. He has been honing his skills day in and day out, and of course it would have been much easier for him to advance if he got the swordsman class, but even without it, he can make his way into the world based on the sheer amount of hard training he has done with his overpowered mom. His family is relieved by this, while he walks off to spend some time alone when he overhears a bunch of noise coming from the training ground. There he notices two guys sparring with each other, and even though their basics seem to be weak, just getting blessed with the swordsman class seems enough to make them capable fighters. They notice Arel watching them and ask why he is standing here. Arel replies that he came here to practice, which makes them laugh. They claim that a classless guy can never spar with an actual swordsman and demonstrate their abilities by hacking at each other with their swords. Arel, however, is not impressed and asks whether they would like to spar with him. The boys think that Arel must be joking, but agree for a match. Before the match could start though, the boy asks Arel whether he has divine protection at least. Unlike the classes, everyone is born with divine protection from birth, which is like a barrier which protects them from harm, but it can run out or be broken by someone who is much stronger than them. Arel nods that he has the protection, which means that the boy can now go all out on him without the fear of killing him. Arel, however, tells him that he doesn't need divine protection to beat brats like him, which enrages the boy, who runs at Arel and swings his sword hard. Arel easily manages to parry the attack, which shocks the brat, who starts swinging his swords wildly at him, but Arel manages to block and deflect every single attack thrown at him. The boy starts getting desperate, and his friend jumps in from the back to take Arel down, but he is too quick and jumps out of the way in time. He realizes that compared to his mom, these boys are nothing in front of him, so 2-on-1 might make for a better match. With that, he rushes towards them and knocks one of the boys out with a pommel to the chin, while the other boy loses his balance after tripping over his friend and gets knocked down. They both start crying about unfairness like sore losers, when suddenly a red-haired boy enters the ring and tells both the idiots to shut their mouths up, as if this was a battlefield. They would have been dead already. Arel doesn't recognize him, but the red-haired boy seems to know him as he walks straight up to him and challenges him to a duel. He claims that Arel only managed to defeat these two chumps because he has got some innate ability from her mother, the Sword Saint, but since he is a classless loser, he will never be able to stand in front of someone with a class as well as basic training. The red-haired boy finally tells them that he is the son of Captain Evans, the leader of the village guards. Arel suddenly remembers the captain when he came to his mother for help, but the boy doesn't look even remotely similar to the rugged man he saw. The boy wails about how Arel's mother is always considered the strongest, even though his father is also an expert swordsman, so finally, to show whose family is better, he is going to defeat Arel in a fight. They both take their positions and finally the match starts. The red-haired boy immediately presses the attack, trying to land a winning blow as soon as possible, but Arel has been practicing with his mom forever and has a very tight defense as well. Their speed is impressive as they zip through the training ground attacking each other, which leaves the two brats stunned on the ground. Arel realizes that even though the red-haired boy is much stronger than the other two idiots, he is using his anger to fight, which is making him sloppy. Arel tries to look for an opening before lunging in, but the red-haired boy is ready for that and uses his special aerial slashes. Arel manages to block one, but the other one hits him in the chest, knocking him to the ground. Arel is taken by surprise and asks what kind of trick was that, but the red-haired boy claims that it's a skill which a classless loser like him can never learn. A couple of days have passed by since that loss, but a new fire has been lit inside Arel. He goes inside the forest with his sword and starts practicing on his own on a dummy target, and after countless tries, he finally manages to replicate the twin slash which defeated him last time. Before he could even celebrate though, a goblin ambushes him by jumping out of the bushes, but it is not a match for him, since Arel turns around, unleashing his twin slash technique, which immediately drops the goblin to the ground. He feels excited about his newly learned technique when suddenly a huge roar erupts from deep within the forest which shakes Arel to the core. He immediately decides to run back to the village and alert the guards, but he overhears the shout of a boy as well, which stops him in his tracks. He realizes that the boy might be in trouble, and it will be too late till the guards arrive, so he decides to go into the forest himself. He walks quietly for a bit, when he finally spots an injured boy, who turns out to be the same red-haired guy who defeated him in training. The boy looks thoroughly beaten as he bleeds from all over his body, holding the sword up towards his enemy, who turns out to be a massive hobgoblin. Even Arel has never seen one in real life, since they never come near the village. He wonders whether he should run for help, since he doesn't know whether he is strong enough to defeat the monster, but he realizes that the red-haired boy would die for certain if he leaves. Arel finally makes up his mind and sneaks behind the hobgoblin, and just before the monster could finish the red-haired boy off, Arel unleashes a strong twin strike which slashes through the goblin, killing him immediately. The boy is shocked to see the hobgoblin dead on the floor, but more than that, he is shocked at the fact that Arel managed to use an attack which he only learned after years of training and the boost from his class. Arel gives the boy some holy water for recovery, and immediately after, the boy asks Arel how he managed to do that, and Arel replies that his attack has nothing to do with having a class, as anyone with enough skill, speed, and power can replicate it. He explains that after losing to his twin slashes before, Arel analyzed it closely and practiced again and again to understand the basics, so now he can modulate the attack however he wants. The boy is still not convinced and challenges Arel to a match, which is gladly accepted. They both stand in front of each other and use their abilities at the same time. To the boy's surprise, not only did Arel manage to successfully block his slash, but he also added a third slash which hits the boy and knocks him to the floor. The captain's son is furious, but Arel explains that he isn't bound by any skill which has limitations, so his only limit is his power and skill, which means he can add as many slashes as he wants if he is good enough. The boy gets back on his feet and engages in another quick battle, but this time again he gets hit by the third slash, stronger than before. He gets knocked to the ground once again as Arel claims the victory and walks off. 5 whole years pass by since that day, and Arel decides to leave on a journey to Brescia, the kingdom known for its swordsmanship. Both his mother as well as Captain Evans got their training from Brescia, and Arel wants to be the best of the best just like them. On his way, he is accompanied by a couple of strangers, 2 of them being swordsmen of a high caliber. The guy has the barbarian class, whereas the woman is known for her dual-wielding class. Both of them want to hone their skills in Brescia as well, but they can't seem to get along and are always at each other's throat. The cart driver tells them to settle down as all of them are going to the same location, but the man is too much of a misogynist and wants to send the woman back to the kitchen. Before they can argue more, however, the cart driver shouts at them to get their swords ready as they have got trouble. Arel calmly looks up and spots a horde of orcs alongside their huge leader blocking their way, with no intentions of letting them leave with their lives. 2 of the kids in the cart get scared and ask the barbarian guy to save them, but the barbarian, true to her name, is a total jerk and a coward, who claims that he is not willing to put his life on the line for someone else and jumps from the cart before running away. The woman follows him, claiming that everyone is on their own in this world. The cart driver gets worried, wondering whether he can outrun the horde with his cart and the passengers. But before he could do anything, Arel climbs down the cart without a single word and starts moving towards the monsters. The driver tells him to back off and run for his life, but Arel simply ignores him before dashing towards the first orc and stabbing it in the heart. The driver is shocked by his incredible speed and accuracy, while Arel simply uses instant transmission and keeps disappearing and appearing in front of the orc, taking them down one by one. Unfortunately though, he gets surrounded by a bunch of orcs on all sides, which means that he can't really use his dash skill anymore. But to the driver's surprise, Arel uses a legendary trick known as the Blade Dance, where he spins around like an idiot cutting everyone down all at once. The cart driver doesn't understand how Arel can use that skill, since it is only used by the swordsmen with the Sword Princess class, and they are always women. Arel, however, isn't bound by the gender norms, as he wants to be the part of the LGHDTV community, so he runs towards the orc leader, dodging its attack expertly before jumping on top of him and burying his sword deep within the orc's skull, killing it immediately. He finally returns back towards the shocked driver and tells him to continue the journey to Brescia. While one of the kids asks what class he belongs to, he simply replies that he doesn't have any class, which completely shocks everyone. He remembers how 5 years ago when he showed his mother the new twin blade skill he learnt, she thought that she was imagining things, but when Arel told her that he is training to replicate any skill he sees, she is beyond overjoyed and promised to teach him all of the skills used by the Sword Princess class. Back in the present, he is woken up by the driver who tells him that they have reached Brescia, the land of swords. Arel climbs down the cart and witnesses the town center flooded by people with swords strapped to their waists. Arel turns towards the driver and asks whether he is an advanced level swordsman. At first, the driver claims that he is just a cart driver, but Arel knows that only good swordsmen can identify the moves he was pulling on the spot. The cart driver admits that he is from the Holy Knights class, which is a pretty good class, but he gets bored of fighting so much, so he prefers to sometimes kick back and relax while pretending to be a normal driver. The Holy Knight realizes that this is probably Arel's first time in the city and tells him that he needs to find a guild for himself first, as without a guild he won't be able to fight in any tournaments. And in this city, fighting and winning the tourneys is the main way swordsmen prove their worth and earn money. Arel replies that he doesn't care about the money, but he wants to fight the strongest swordsman this place has to offer him. The driver tells him to be wary of toxic corporate guilds, as they can suck your soul and not in a good way. With that, the driver turns back and leaves, while Arel moves into the city, looking at all the different people announcing their guilds, hiring people and swordsmen getting in line to try their luck for the better guilds. On the way, he ends up bumping into a blonde lowly who immediately latches onto him like headless, telling him that she is the member of a famous guild and wants him to join them. Arel is immediately wary of her, since she seems very desperate for members, so he refuses. The lowly, however, doesn't leave him alone and keeps pestering him to join their guild again and again, but Arel's is not a simp and keeps refusing. He asks her what is the strongest guild here, and begrudgingly replies that the Shadowblade Guild is one of the strongest right now since it has 8 class as swordsmen. He asks her for the directions and immediately moves towards the guild. He gets stopped on the way by the guard who directs him towards the reception for the test. In the reception, he finds a huge line of budding swordsmen willing to try their luck to enter the famous guild, which excites Arel as well, who wonders what kind of amazing people he would have to fight against. But when his chance comes to register, the receptionist laughs at him for being a classless loser, claiming that only people with an advanced swordsman class can apply for the guild trials. Arel claims that he is sure he can pass their trial, but the receptionist refuses to register him. Saddened by this, he decides to leave when he spots 3 of the ranked swordsmen entering the hall, who are immediately treated like celebrities. He doesn't really care much about the theatrics though, and immediately turns towards other guilds, but one by one, he gets rejected by all of them on the basis of him not having a class. Tired, he goes back into the city, taking out the letter his mother gave him and told him to find her old guild, since they will surely help her find something. He wonders whether his mom knew that he would have this much trouble, but he is thankful nonetheless. Before he can even read the letter though, the blonde lowly latches onto him once again, claiming that they are still ready to take him in, but Arel refuses again. She literally starts begging him to join the guild, telling him to do it as a charity, and points at a beautiful guild house, claiming that it's her guild. This surprises Arel a little, but the lowly replies that their guild known as the Dragonfang used to be the best in the country for a very long time, but lately it's gone to shit and currently they are the weakest, but she wants to bring it back up to its former glory. The name Dragon Fang suddenly rings a bell as he remembers that his mom once told him about the leader of her guild who was a dual-wielding swordsman who named the guild Dragon Fang after his special move. He quickly takes out the letter to look for the name, and it in fact is the guild that his mom was talking about. He decides to go in with her, which makes her very happy. But the moment they enter the room, he finds an old drunk man with only one arm on the couch. The man tells Arel to go somewhere else since this guild is doomed and walks off, while the lowly tells him that he is her father, who used to be the second best swordsman of the city. But ever since losing his arm, he has never been the same. Arel, however, surprises her by saying that he wants to join the guild. This makes the lowly really happy, and she quickly drafts up an agreement, which Arel fills up and hands it back to her. She reads it before asking why he left the class column blank. That's when Arel replies that it's because he has no class. The lowly snaps and gets a sword out, claiming that she thought he might be an advanced class swordsman since he was acting so hard to get. But before she could say any more, the door opens and a red-haired beauty named Ray enters the room. The lowly immediately runs towards her, crying that this classless idiot deceived her into joining the guild. This gets Ray's immediate attention, and she looks towards Arel, claiming that she never thought she would see him here. Arel is confused and asks how she knows him, and Ray looks surprised, claiming that they were from the same village and trained together. That still doesn't ring a bell, but finally he realizes that the red-haired boy that he fought so many times before was actually not a boy, but a girl. The lowly knows about the story as well, and asks Ray whether this is the classless guy who defeated her when she was young, as she always thought that the story was a myth. Ray, however, is still stuck on that loss and challenges Arel to a match immediately. The fight starts and Ray immediately uses the twin slash attack, which Arel thinks he can counter, but to his surprise, Ray's slashes blast through his own and hit him straight in the chest. This confuses him, but Ray reveals that she has the power swordsman class, which is why she is able to use a sword that is 5 times heavier than a normal sword, which means that she has 5 times the power in each sword strike. Arel is impressed by the fact that she has still retained her speed even after using a heavier sword, but that speed is nothing in front of his own speed. The next time she attacks, he creates an after image of himself, which distracts Ray while he appears behind her and hits her in the back. Ray is confused and tries again, but the result is the same. She can't believe that Arel is using a technique which is only used by the most advanced level swordsmen, while Arel realizes that she is too tanky to take down with his normal attacks. Ray also knows this and tries to end the fight with her heavy blows, but Arel uses his mother's signature counter, which brings Ray to her knees, and the fight is over just like that. With that, the lowly's demeanor changes completely, and she welcomes him once again to their guild, and tells him that their guild is in crippling debt right now. To get out of debt, they will have to enter the tournaments and fight as a 3-man group against other guilds who will have all 5 members in a team. Arel, however, is excited at the prospect of fighting against strong opponents and looks forward for the opportunity to hone his skills even more. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.